I say we just go with that, right? Would people listen to that for 45 minutes? I want to talk about anything and everything. So if it's business, fantastic, and we can always tie that into, but there's so much more to life than just business, and I want to talk about it all. So let's, as an example, I actually made a note of something that I think is pretty interesting. I don't know if everyone else will find this interesting, and it's kind of related, but I went back and looked at, I remember when I first started a business, maybe I was 6 or 8 or 10 years in. I had an IT guy that had worked with me forever, Chan. Shout out to Chan. He and I worked at McDonald's together, and then he came to work for me. This has been 25 years ago. And so over time, as the storage capacity for computers and then ultimately phones and the storage capacity for a handheld device, ultimately the smartphone, and to where we are now from the iPods and the iPod minis and all of those players, we would always marvel at how fast they were growing. And when you had this conversation over the course of 20 years, $1 trillion wasn't even a number we recognized. It wasn't even a number that came up, right? I mean, a billion was a gigantic number, right? And now what's this? I mean, what's an affordable storage device, to put it into storage terms, for a computer is what? How many?
It's
how many?
Like 500
what's an
gigabytes.
affordable
It's like
one?
A basic one. 500 gigabytes for
Right, but you can get ones that are like 4. What are they? Hexabytes?
Tetrabytes.
Yeah, whatever my point being, these things were small, and then they got bigger and bigger, and all of a sudden we were dealing with what the next evolution was, and what the next, as you added a zero, what did that number mean? Because we were entering a world for numbers that we didn't really understand. $1 billion was a huge number when Steve and I were kids. $1 trillion was a huge number when I was an adult, and it was a number that we never even talked about. And so for most of my business career, no one ever talked about $1 trillion. The only people that dealt in $1 trillion was the U.S. government for the most part, or if you were talking about the global, either the U.S. GDP or the global GDP. I mean, really, those are the only times you ever got to a number like $1 trillion. And it always fascinated me. I remember when Ronald Reagan took over in 1980, I think the total debt for the United States was $800 or $900 billion. I mean, we hadn't even reached $1 trillion yet. This was in 1980. So there's two corollaries here. One is just my fascination with that number trillion, but also how business works. And so this is the tie-in to business. And so I went back and I looked. The first company to reach the first legit company traded on the stock exchanges that reached $1 trillion. Now, the first one was PetroChina back in 2007, but that was a big scam, and so we're not even going to count that one, and that was not even traded here in the States. But the first one was Apple. August 2nd, 2018, Apple hit $1 trillion. Before then, I can remember reading, as I did avidly from about 28 years old on, in Forbes and Fortune, how nobody would ever reach $1 trillion. $1 trillion was just this number that was crazy to think that a company might get to that size. And so in business, on a much smaller level, for the small business owner, I've always said, and Steve's heard me talk about this before, where I say, just get a sale. And more, you get in a slump, and no sales happen, and nothing goes on, and it's the end of the world, and you can't bring in new business. And new business is life to a business, right? It's the blood flowing through its veins. You need to have new business coming on, but no business happens. And so you start to look at things. As an example, we took a piece of business that was like $35 a day for this run that was just crazy. But we had been on this over the last couple of years through COVID, just this brutal a desert period where just nothing came in. I was like, I'm taking it. We'll get it, fine, price it accordingly and get it. Because one sale will beget another sale, will beget another sale. And these things work in a cycle like that. And so I think about that very small scale to think about the bigger scale of $1 trillion company. And so we had never even really even thought about $1 trillion company prior to Apple going to $1 trillion on November 5th, 2000, or August 2nd, 2018. But then something really amazing happens. The next month, September 4th, Amazon goes to $1 trillion. The next year, April 25th, Microsoft goes to $1 trillion. December 11th, 2019, Saudi Aramco goes to $1 trillion. Alphabet, January 16th, 2020, $1 trillion. Meta, June 28th, 2021, $1 trillion. Tesla, $1 trillion. Nvidia, $1 trillion. Broadcom, $1 trillion. Berkshire Hathaway, $1 trillion. Taiwan Semiconductor, $1 trillion, finishing on July 8th, 2024. Now, all of those that I just read off to you, current value, Apple 3.74 trillion, Amazon 2.27, Microsoft 3.78, Saudi Aramco 1.63, although they think that's a lot higher because there's a bunch of government going on in that one. Mm-hmm. Alphabet 2.4, Meta Platforms 1.84, Tesla 1 trillion, Nvidia 4.46 trillion. Broadcom 1 trillion, Berkshire Hathaway 1 trillion, Taiwan Semiconductor 1.15 trillion. The point being, as soon as you hit that number, that becomes the baseline, and all of a sudden, out of nowhere comes all of these other companies. This happens everywhere in life. I don't remember specifically, I remember the story. Roger Bannister ran a 4-minute mile. I don't know what year, one of y'all can look it up. It's like the 50s, I think. Mm-hmm. And he ran a 4-minute mile, I think it was in England. And so he runs this 4-minute mile. And before then, you can go back and read where everyone said the 4-minute mile by a human being is not possible. It's impossible. It can't be done. No one can ever do it. And you could read time after time after time. I think going back to Sports Illustrated and Sport Magazine and different articles, the 4-minute mile can't be reached. And then Roger Bannister ran it. And he ran a 4-minute mile. And I'm going to say something like in the next 90 or 120 days, or the next, maybe it was a year, the very short period, like 11 people ran the 4-minute mile. It was like people needed to know that they could run the 4-minute mile. And all of a sudden it took off and ran. So people needed to know they can hit $1 trillion. I mean, the trillion is just, that's crazy. But as in another example, and even in my little tiny example, we started that one piece of business after a drought of no business, and all of a sudden business started flying at us faster than I could keep up with. And so I have seen that work over the years, both in business and then, like I said, in life, where what people thought were impossible at one point, as soon as one person gets it, many more people get it. I guess Mount Everest is probably another good example. Sir, what was his name? Edmund Hillary climbed to the top of it, I think, in the 50s, for the love of God, how he did it with no equipment. Now we see these spacemen that go up there and they're all done up and all the thing. And I don't know, 1,000 people have done it ever since. But I find that fascinating and an interesting look into life and to the way that our brains work as humans.
Yeah. No, that's those are some serious numbers where it's like you said, growing up, you're like, a trillion, like that's what I hear is $1 trillion. That's the government debt. That's the only person that I know of that hits $1 trillion. And then listing out all those companies, it's insane to know the evaluation of money and how quickly it's gone up within the last 10 to 15 years compared to prior time where it was like a steady inclination of making money, like millions of dollars in the early 1900s is a fortune. And it's like, whoa. And then now it's like, oh, $1 million, people can hit $1 million in a year.
Right.
And it's like,
right.
Whoa, like it's just, it's a mind thing that you have to like overcome, especially as a small business owner, or even someone like me who's starting out in a small business. I'm like, $1 million, I'm not going to be able to hit that. Like, what are you talking about? And it's almost kind of like changing the mindset of how to make money and how you can continue to compound on the money you continue to make.
Good way of looking at that. I had to look it up, remember, because we can't wrap our hand. I mean, what's our current debt, Jerry, in this nation for the U.S.?
37 trillion.
37 trillion.
Yeah.
So if you do it in seconds, I had to look it up, remember, because that's what really just helps you understand. 1 million seconds is just under 2 weeks. 1 billion seconds is 32 years. And 1 trillion seconds is 32,000 years.
Yeah, a trillion's a big number.
Yeah.
It's an unimaginably big number.
But we start throwing it around in our society like it's, just a lot more millions, and there's just no comprehension of how much more massive it is than that.
Right. And to think Elon Musk is worth half of that.
Yeah.
500 billion. Yeah.
Yeah.
But to your point, wait, what's that hat you have on?
I got tired of waiting for y'all's merch, and I got a little
Son
creative.
of a...
I was about to say, I think he taped it on. It looks like,
Yeah,
because I
it's
can see
taped
some of
on.
the gloss. Yeah.
Yeah, it's taped on. I had a yellow postcard. I was waiting here, and I couldn't make any calls because I didn't want to get on a call and miss it. And I just took some paper and then I put tape over it, tape all the little letters together, cut them out. I was looking at the thing on the logo thing just to get an idea. I got tired of waiting
Son
for
of
the
a
merch to show up.
from this level, it looks pretty. I mean, looking at it through the camera here, it looks pretty good. I wouldn't
Yeah,
know the difference.
it looks better
Yeah.
on camera than it does in person. But
Uh,
yeah, just playing around, get an idea because I had a black hat, and I was like, one of these times we're gonna have to get this stuff in and start just wearing our stuff.
That's bad to the bone, right? I'm
Yeah.
digging all over that. Yeah, so let's talk about that as we are talking about the business side of it and what we're building. So we've got this Kronos Group. I thought this was a good subject to talk about. Also, is what we're trying to do in building out this Kronos Group, this peer-to-peer group. And so Matt and Steve and I got our heads together here about 3 or 4, I don't know, what was it, April, boys? April or May? We were at the beach down in Destin, Florida, back in April, and we said, let's make this thing a go, and let's try and get something together. So we have been working feverishly over the last 4 or 5 months to get this thing really to where it is right now, which is probably about 90% of the way there, Maddie, for the internet or for the website and kind of all of those pieces to it. I'm right. I mean, at this point, it's filling out this document or changing this words or putting in some pictures or doing a VSL like I got to do. But we're almost there, right, to where the customers come on, we're good to go.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
And
go ahead.
no, I was going to say it's one of those things that throughout the months, it's crazy how quickly time flies. Because I was thinking about it on my way home while I was getting ready for the podcast, and I was like, yeah, I know we've been doing the Kronos Group for a little bit now. And then I was like, well, really, we kickstarted in like July when we were like, all right, let's do this thing. Let's go ahead and start building the website. Let's putting all the stuff together. And then we're in October now. And I was like, whoa, that's like 4 months, like running down
Really
the road.
quick.
And I'm like, wow. So
Right. So we're pulling our hair out, trying to figure out how to bring in customers. We are trying to do it organically, not necessarily spend money on ads, get me out on podcasts, which is happening, but that doesn't ever go as quickly as we would like to. And really what I'm trying to do by talking about this is the steps that we're going through to get there. Other people might find it interesting. Other people might find it helpful. But at the same time, other people might go, those idiots should have done X, Y, or Z, which we always are happy to listen to. But we have done some of those things. I'm doing the podcast, and I love doing podcasts, and I'm happy to come on anybody's podcast, and I'm happy to have people come on our podcast and have these conversations, and that's always helpful. And I love doing that. Forget about trying to get the word out on the Kronos Group. And then secondary to that then has been making videos, informing people about the Kronos Group. We tried to do a workshop a couple of times. We couldn't get it to get any traction. And so you try to kind of learn from that and deviate the ways that maybe it didn't work or the reasons why it didn't, or the video wasn't good or the reach wasn't as good. Maybe we need to run ads. And so we've talked about doing that. And the other thing too is, as an old school entrepreneur like me, I want to get out and start shaking people's hands and meeting people. And so as we continue to do this, we are going to head out next month to the, what's it called, guys?
Small
The
Business Expo.
Small
Dallas.
Business Expo. And we're going to go out on, we're going to be in Dallas, Texas. That's sometime in November. Somebody can tell me the 10th,
November
I think.
19th.
November 19th. Good God. If it was up to me, we would never be anywhere. Is it December 10th is the one in Atlanta? Did I get that right?
Yeah. December, I think it's like December 10th is the Atlanta one.
Okay, so I got I knew I had a date in my head correctly. So anyway, we're going to head out there to Dallas and go to the meet and greets and go see what that's all about. We're not going to have a booth there. We're going to go meet people. We're going to take a look at it. I had a friend of mine, Jake, who gave me some great advice, who goes to shows like this all the time. He's in the outdoor space. Shout out to Jake and his wife, Melissa. And we're going to go walk it, and we're going to go meet people. And so if anyone is going to be there in Dallas that might hear this podcast, we would love to have you reach out to us and meet you up there. Or if anybody has any feedback on the Small Business Expos and they want to share that with us also, because we want to get out and get face to face with people. It certainly is not the easiest way to reach the most people. Obviously, that's via the internet, and we're going to continue to do that via social media. And we've got all the platforms, and the videos are going to continue to come out, and we're going to be hitting, like I said, I'm on all of the podcasts that I can get on, and we'll continue to do that. But we also have that old school bent to us that says we need to get out there and start talking to people. At least for me, I want to get out there and feel like I'm throwing punches. And in the social media world, throwing punches is a little bit more difficult unless you really want to ramp up the spending for ads. And so not that we're opposed to that, but we're trying to avoid doing that as much as we can and really try to get this thing going organically. So I wanted to explain that to everybody, and you guys can talk about it more. But from my perspective, the 19th of November, a month away from now, can't get here fast enough because I look forward to meeting people. But that's if the Small Business Expo is as it appears.
Yeah, it'll be a great time to get out there and just test the waters of what we're doing with what the need is. And it'll give us a lot more opportunity, to meet people there. Be sure to look for the logos. No, not everybody has them. They're hats yet, but some of us got a little ambitious. But to be able to get to meet people and find out where they're at, what they're really dealing with, what they could really help, and how we can offer a solution to what they're dealing with, as opposed to one of those times that we've talked about, Jerry. Instead of going somewhere, kind of like a mastermind or some big group thing, you get all fired up and you feel good for the weekend, and then you get back Monday morning and your problems you had are still there. You just feel really good about it, and about midday morning, nothing changed about your problems, and that feel good feeling is pretty much worn off by then.
Right. Yeah. And the flip side to that is unlike a good, to your point, Steve, as you continue to tell me, unlike a good sales kind of maybe a video or a speech, or there's something specific that somebody can teach you inside of that sales seminar is the word I was looking for. The masterminds for me, as we've talked about before, have never been anything other than rah, yay, and then back to trying to figure out how to make payroll.
Yeah. And I like the approach that we're taking when it comes to not using ads. Not to say that would not jumpstart your business and being able to spend money in order to make money. But I think there's a lot of business owners out there that are in our same boat. There's a lack of what they need to do in order to scale their business, and maybe instead of where we're at, trying to hit business owners that are making year over year revenue of like $1 million to $50 million, they're trying to get to that first million. And a lot of businesses, especially even it's like a solopreneur business that expands into a LLC or something larger than that, then it's like, all right, how do I grow to that next level? And you can use ads, but we're going a non competitive route when it comes to spending money in ads. And we're also like going to incorporate ads down the road. But for now, we're just trying to take the simple steps that Joe Smith down the street that owns a plumbing company could do himself. It's not, hey, you have to have like $10,000 worth of media spend in order to really elevate your business. It can work and it would work, but some people don't have that money just laying around, and they want to spend it on maybe graphics or flyers or getting the word out. So if you're a business owner, Jerry, and you're at that ground state, when it came to you growing Sinvoy, what was that like first 6 months of getting new contacts, getting new clients? Like, what was that like? What were you doing when it came to trying to find those leads and then nurture those leads into actual paying customers?
Hard work. I mean, you have to go find them. In my case, when I started, I had come out of a big company, so I went to work for myself, right? And then I had customers that I had worked with there that I was able to move with me. So that gave me a good base. But then number one, you do good work. That's number one. So my reputation was one that brought me work, or at least got me invited into work. But you have to go, you got to go meet people. You got to go talk to people. You got to go try to sell people. You got to get sales calls made so that you can get in to sit down with people. I mean, in my day, and again, the thing I was selling is you had to get in front of people. You weren't doing any of this on the phone. You had to go talk to them. So you had to figure out who they are, and then you got to bug them, and you got to get in the door, and you got to have a conversation with them. And sometimes that took 2, 3, 4, 5 years, sometimes 10 years. And somebody would call and say, hey, y'all talk to me at one point, this thing, we did that deal, and I remember you, and I had your card, and we call, and all of a sudden it turns into a $10,000 account. That's just straight hard work. That's the answer to the question. You go into all of the places you want to do work for, and you ask for a card. You ask to talk to the boss, and you can't get to the boss. And so you get a manager, and the manager's like, yeah, we don't need you anymore right now. All right, well, here's my card just in case. It's a whole lot of outreach, old school, shoe leather, hard work. I think, back to talking about, Matt, your Instagram post from all those years ago where I was like, talk to me when you've been turned down 100 times. Talk to me when you've been turned down 500 times, because that's where you learn how to succeed, is by going in and doing all of those failures. I've always said, if you can be a door-to-door salesman of anything, of any kind, you can do almost any job in the world, because that job is the hardest job in the world to do. And so in that context, you learn how to do it over time. But really, it just comes to getting out there and doing it. And it can be done. It just seems so preposterously hard. And as we've talked about many times, as we're looking for, we need 4 people to start our new group, 4 people in the Kronos group to start group number 1. And so we have to get more than you got to get the first one to get to the second one, to get to the fourth one. And as soon as we land the first one, we will learn about what worked on that first one. Now, to get to that first one, literally puts us on airplanes and flying to these events and doing a dozen videos, and Matt or dozens and dozens or hundreds of videos, and Matt working his ass off at night to make sure all those get on while he's doing his day job during the day. I'm doing my day job during the day and just trying to get as much research done and as much information done up and as many videos as I can, and writing and all of those other pieces. Steve made that hat.
That was a contribution. That was a big contribution.
We don't need haters on here. Let's keep it positive. No jealousy.
I set you up on your hat thing perfectly. Thank you very much. And all of that I said just to hit you with the hat after you hit us with the hat earlier. But yeah, we're just having conversations. We're doing podcasts. We're putting the word out as much as we can, and you're learning. And as soon as we get one, though, we'll figure out maybe all of the things that we didn't do right that didn't get us to that first one. And then that first one, we'll have 2. I'll bet you we'll have 2 within days of the first one. I would bet money we'll have 2 within days. And then we'll have a group fairly shortly thereafter. It will happen like that. Or we will get 1, 2, 3, and then all of a sudden they don't wait around, and now we got to get 5 because only 2 are staying, and now you need 7 because only 4 are staying. I mean, that will happen, and you go through people, but you learn, again, during the period what you're doing. The other thing is you can't make money doing it. You're just pushing. You're working your asses off, and you're pushing. And that's a big part of it. People discount. They think there's some magic formula to doing this. And the magic formula is get up early, go to bed late, and work in between. That's the magic formula. And you just make it happen. But too often people think that there's some special mixture, some elixir, something you do that's going to help you make that happen. And without the hard work, get up in the morning and go to work, go to bed until late, and go to bed late and go to work. Until you can do those things, it doesn't matter how much information you're given. It doesn't matter how good the program that you are a part of. Doesn't matter how good the mastermind is. It does not matter how good the peer-to-peer group is. It doesn't matter how good the seminar is, the webinar, whatever it is you're doing. None of that's any good unless you're willing to get up early and go to bed late and work in between.
Yeah, one thing I like about this is starting with the first workshops. We're showing what it's really like. What it's really like, real time. A lot of times most people will start their podcast and start doing all this once they become successful because they want to look good out of the gate. And that's not reality. That's not reality for a while for a lot of times. And so by doing this, it's the proof that this is what it takes. You want to know what it takes? Follow these podcasts and watch the evolution and the growth of a business real time right before your eyes.
Yeah. Because this sucks, right? But inside of the suck, I mean, this sucks like like going to a gym and pushing weight to failure sucks, right? This sucks. Like sitting in a sauna for half an hour at 180 degrees sucks, right? All of these things suck, but they all also have value. I love going to the gym. I wish I didn't have to go to the gym, but I do. So I go to the gym. I don't necessarily enjoy the workout and the pain and everything is to failure and slow and all of those things, but the value and the benefit I get from it is well worth all of that. And this experience here, trying to build this business from scratch, is the pain of lifting. And you don't ever see the results of lifting right away. You got to lift weights for a while, and you got to eat clean for a while, and before you start to see those results. And that is what building a business is it just takes time. And sometimes, I mean, there are stories of very, very popular people online that made videos for 4 years that no one watched. And then all of a sudden it hit. It absolutely is the case. And businesses are no different. It just isn't. And it's how much are you willing to put into it? We talked about going to the group or to the Small Business Expo in December because the one in Atlanta was close. And I was sitting here a couple of nights ago. These guys will tell you because all of a sudden they started getting texts from me on our group chat. And I was like, no, I can't. Nope. I can't wait that long. That's not aggressive enough for me. It's not pushing hard enough. I need to know the answer to this faster. When's one that's closer to us that I can get there to quickly that makes a lot of sense for us? And that one happens to be, that's big enough to, go jump off on. Dallas is a big one. Away we go to try it. And that's just part of that push. Steve and I are just going to start going to local things here in town, here in where we live just south of Nashville, Tennessee, and see what we can do. Meanwhile, we'll continue to make videos. I'll continue to go on podcasts and make that happen. Matt will continue to develop all of the content that we're doing, keep the website out, keep posting to all of the different social medias that we do. I mean, it's a lot of freaking work with no payoff. So how long can you put up with that? Well, you got to believe in yourself, and you just keep freaking pushing. And when I stop believing in myself, or I start slowing down a little bit and go, God, I don't think this is going to work, then I was like, no. Find the group to, or find the thing in Dallas to go to now. I got to go now. So my reaction to, man, it's not picking up. It's only been 2 months, for the love of God, or however long it's been since even the internet or the website was up. But whenever you get that little tinge, I'm like, oh, I got to push harder. Okay, I'm not waiting to December. I got to go next month.
Yeah, there's a line that I think within the pain that if you ride, it's like riding the wave, and you ride it long enough that you almost start to enjoy the unknown and the work to get to the end. And there's a lot of, I would say, people even like me would start something like this, and after a few months be like, it's just not going anywhere. I'm done. And I started, like, I think in the last 2 or 3 weeks, I've really started to sit down and at my end of my day, write out the thoughts in my head. And when I go back through that journal and actually look at like the nights where I was like, I don't want to do this. This sucks. We're not getting any customers. I'm not helping. Like, I'm not making any extra money. I look at all those things. And now 2 weeks later, I look at it and I'm like, well, I got to get on my fucking workhorse. I got to make something happen, because I can't keep talking like this. And it's almost like a driver of, you want to see how long you can endure that pain of building and getting better. And it becomes almost kind of like an addiction for who can actually outlast me. And I remember, like, for some reason the other day, thought popped up in my head of being back in high school, and it was football. And you look at me, I'm not a football player. I'm not built for a football. And I remember doing certain drills where you're getting pounded and pounded and pounded every single time in a row until one of you hears the whistle and stops. And I remember going back and like thinking through that, and I was like, God, this sucks. But it built this endurance and this almost kind of innate like hunger to just keep going until the other person gives up before I do. And that's a driver that it's not taught, it's learned. And this is something that you can't just tell someone. hey, here it is. Here's your magic formula and you'll make $1 million. It's not ever that easy. And they'll sell that to you like they do on social media, this 3-step, 5-step process, and you'll make 40K work clients. But there's work that goes into that. And then at the end of the day, it's how bad do you actually want it? Like I wanted to make sure at that point when I was playing football that I was going to outlast that other person. And they would look at me and be like, this guy's a maniac. This guy's a psycho. And now I take that as like a compliment. They're like, oh, wow, that person's crazy, working so many hours, doing all this, cutting away from like hanging out with their family or hanging out with friends or going out to parties on the weekend. And it's like, yeah, because I am crazy. And that's okay because I know inside me, that's what drives me. That's what I want. And if you don't want that, and to 99% of the population out there, that's borderline crazy. Well, you could call Elon Musk crazy. You could call Jeff Bezos crazy. You could call Mark Zuckerberg crazy. But their crazy is what drove them to that success.
Yeah, a lot of the programs they'll sell online, as far as to that point of getting rich, a lot of it seems like it sets you up to start midstream of something that's already moving, not when you really are starting at the ground level. And so when they get in there and realize, well, when you get to this point, you could make this money. What they won't tell you is the suck, because nobody wants to buy something and spend money on something that sucks. So the problem with a lot of that, and why I think a lot of it fails out, is because they'll just fluff your feathers on what it can be, and it could be one day, but they leave out all the stuff before that. And I think that's the delusion some people have, a lot of people have, when they get into these programs, and they don't understand what we're going through right now. They don't understand how it is, how it's lonely. Like, I'll be honest, if I was doing this on my own, I'd have stopped already. If I didn't have other people, somebody else with me, helping me do this, helping me keeping it moving, just by myself. Now, there's things we all work on by ourselves too, but to have that ability to have somebody else that's going through it too, it makes it so much, easier to do, as far as having, the success that you're looking for. But they won't sell you all that. They'll sell you just enough to get you enticed and into it, but they really won't really take pull the curtain all the way back about what's really involved with that. Because if you saw that, most people would say, well, I'm not going to do all that work.
Yeah.
But they'll sell it because they just sell a pipe dream that could be achievable, but they leave out all those critical first steps. When it's lonely, it sucks, you have that mental battle in your head, should I keep doing this? To your point, Jerry, that you've got to learn to overcome, because you're going to have those moments. Anybody that tells you do this and just keep a positive mindset is just full of it. And that's what a lot of people just don't realize, is that there is that time that you're just going to have to push through if you're going to make it work and have a shot at it being successful.
Yeah, the value in, from my perspective, what I'm lucky to have is I have perspective on this, because I've been here and I've done this and I know what this takes. And so Maddie and I had that conversation a few months ago just to make sure we were on the same page relative to how he was feeling, and that this is hard. This whole thing is hard. And you don't just magically go and start making more money than you could ever imagine, right? It takes ungodly amounts of work to make that happen. And if you don't make that happen, if you can't do that, then go back to your 9 to 5. But there's no guarantee. That's what makes this so hard, is that there's no guarantee. What in the hell?
The dog
You
walked
guys
in.
got to see this. Pick this dog up. Can you pick her up? Check this out. Pick her up. Is she too heavy to pick up? This puppy is getting huge. Oh,
Puppy.
Oh.
When is it not a puppy anymore?
Oh my
Holy
gosh.
Oh. Ain't no
Little
puppy,
Maybell.
though. What's
For
that?
everyone
What's
who's
Maybell?
just listening.
Turn her around, Kat.
Yeah. If you're
There she
watching,
is.
there she
Wow.
is. Yeah.
There she is. She's gigantic.
I haven't even seen her in about a month. Wow.
No, Kathy, how much did she put on in 24 pounds in 6 weeks?
Jeez.
25 pounds. Can't
Hey,
she?
have Kathy come back in and check out the merch.
Yeah, Kathy, Steve would like you to come in and check out the merch. See his hat?
Oh, nice.
Don't. Oh, nice, she says. Just don't, Kathy. He made it up on his own. It's not even real. It's pretty impressive, though,
Waiting.
looking at it on the video. It doesn't, because he said he taped it and put it all together. The hats we're going to do, but he has to, you know how he is.
He has to one up.
I was waiting,
Yeah.
so I was making use of my time while I was waiting.
Yeah. It does look pretty good. All right, get them dogs out of here. Sorry.
That was
So-
good.
I digress.
Always good
There you
dog
go.
interruption.
Yeah, clearly Maybell's ready for Halloween. Going trick or treating. But yeah, so the point there is that it is hard. This whole thing's hard. Everything about it is hard. And to think that it is anything but hard is foolish. And what are you willing to do? Are you willing to work at your day job all day long? And then are you willing to work on this whenever you can during your day job? And then are you willing to work on this at night? I said it last week. I said it the week before. I probably said it the week before, and I'll say it next week. Matt and I text with each other at 10 o'clock at night all of the time, because that's when I'm sitting trying to get on podcasts and get the word out and get introduced from that perspective, get people on our podcast, bring people in so we have content, we have good conversations. It takes time to do that. I got to write for the blog. I got to do all of that stuff. Maddie's got to do all of the tech stuff on the other side, which takes a ton of work. We need to start moving the work away from Matt and start moving the work to Steve as he starts to sell it and bring in the customers and make everybody happy and make sure the system goes the way that we want it to. So, it's a collective effort, but it's just hard work, man. There's no two ways around it. But if you want to make more money than than you've ever imagined, you have to work harder than you've ever imagined. There is no, goddamn, if I get one more person online trying to, as I scroll through Facebook talking to me about.
I had to stop.
Yeah.
I just had to stop. Like I don't check my social media anymore, because it was just one of those things that I saw more and more as I was making content around this stuff. That now they're just like the algorithms just suggesting it to me, and I've gotten to the point where I literally like go on social media to post, and that's it.
Yeah, part of it has value in that I get to see how crazy people are. Those ads aren't there because they don't work. Those ads are there because they work. So that means that there are morons that are buying that program, that the morons that are selling those programs, I should say, are getting people to do it who don't know any better, because they're using how we all feel about how hard this is against them. Right? They're showing them the brass ring, and it says, if you only spend X with me, I will get you Y. And the reality is that's not going to happen. Period. It will not. And if it does, it'll be 1 out of 1,000 or 1 out of 100,000. It will be very rare. But again, you can sell to a desperate man. You can sell anything at any time. And particularly somebody who has started it like we have, you see those ads and you go, God, all I got to do is hook up with these guys, and all of a sudden I can get 100,000 views, or I can get 5,000 followers, or whatever it is. And you're like, I got to do that right now. But then you flip, there's another ad with another dude telling me the same thing. And flip it again, there's another ad with another dude telling me the same thing. And you get that. That's really not reality. And we kind of covered that with Jonathan in the podcast last week, talking about social media and the way that it works and what people promise you they can do. But this is the tough part of it. We got everything built for the most part. Now it's just maintaining it going forward, putting out the videos, doing the work in, getting on the podcast, getting out and seeing the customers, and you got to bring one in. Now there's no excuse, because we've got a large majority of the work behind us. Now we have to go execute. That might take a week. That might take a month. That might take 6 months. It just takes time. This is the way that it works. So how do we do it? Along the way, you got to learn. Along the way, you got to take your beatings. That's why I want to go talk to people. I want to get feedback from them. I want to hear what they say. That's bullshit. I don't even understand what you just tried to sell to me. Oh, God, I didn't do a good job selling that. Okay, how'd that go? The three of us get back together at the end of the day. How'd it go? This guy says I'm an idiot. This guy says this will never work. This guy loves the idea. And then you put all that back together, and then you redeploy back out, and you do it all over again. And I'll end with this. After that diatribe, I will say, this is fun. I enjoy this, right? This is, other people don't want this kind of pain and punishment, but the payoff of this is going to be significant as we learn through. And to your point, Matt, there is no life that's comfortably lived. There is not. And what did PJ say in a podcast a couple of weeks ago, which stuck with me? I told this to the guys in the sauna today at the gym. I said that comfort, or aging, is the relentless pursuit of comfort. I want no part of chasing comfort. I want to chase life and live and being able to do this and being frustrated and not understanding how this works and having to ask Matt 9 times where that freaking file is because I can't remember how the process works, the thing that my brain's not good at, and my brain is screaming at me, don't do it. Right? Stop doing it, because why are you looking for files at 10:30 at night for this thing that you need to answer to that you've already been given 4 times? So I got to reach out to Matt and go for the 5th time. Tell me where this is, because in that pain is joy and life and excitement and feeling good and learning and holding yourself accountable and self-assessing and all of the skills that you need to grow.
Yeah.
Yeah, that parallels a lot of what I'm doing in the nutrition coaching that I do as my day job, in the sales of that. And to your point, Jerry, everybody wants that, that little magic potion that's just going to help you lose the weight without doing the work. So it's ubiquitous, I like that word, in that the human mind wants the easy, comfortable way out, and adds appeal to it. What's the quick, easy way that I have to do the least amount of work and suffer the least amount? I can, have my weekends off and start taking big trips and vacations that first year, 2 years. And when you work with people, to get their nutrition dialed in, to get their health, a lot of the times it's for weight loss. You just have to start bare minimum. You just start changing the way you eat. You look at things the way that you don't have to change everything about it, but people have been sold a bill of goods on what they consider healthy, just like, they've been sold a bill of goods what it really takes to run a business.
Right.
On there, they just show them that. And then you get to actually work with people. And one of the big things is not just that, but having, to the point of what we offer is in my nutrition sales, is the fact you get an accountability coach. You get somebody that's going to guide you along the way. They're going to help you make adjustments. They're not going to just turn your world necessarily upside down unless you've just been eating fast food for your life. But they're going to make the tweaks that are going to help you. And it's a slow process. Most of it's a year. Everybody wants to lose the weight because the ad will tell you can lose, 30 pounds in 2 months. Just take these little drops every day without naming any names. But that's not the reality of the way it works. So a lot of that in the sales I do parallels what we do here. And to your point, I take a beating sometimes. What didn't work? Why did that call fail? Why did they all of a sudden, decide not to, go with it, even though it seems like it makes the most sense in the world, and it will absolutely change their physical life as much as what we're doing here is trying to help businesses change their business life,
And
the
sometimes
life of their business.
It's just that one thing you said that got them off the phone, and you're like, okay, note to self, don't say that again. Not, oh my God, I just spent 20 minutes talking to those people and they didn't want to go. And, those SOBs don't know what they're talking about and they don't understand how. You can't do that. You have to take it and say, what did I say wrong that got them off that phone call that made me lose out on that sale? Yeah. And that's not unlike what we're talking about doing here. I agree 100%.
That's why I'm excited about getting out there and just really, running it up the flagpole, as they say.
Yep.
Just to see what response you get out of it. And one thing this has helped me do is help me be built that no doesn't bother me. I want to know, why are you saying no? What am I doing that doesn't appeal? What am I missing for something that I know could bring immense value? Just like when I'm doing nutrition, I know it'll change your life. So what is it, the way you see things, the way you see business, to parallel it, the way you see a business should run, or what you've always thought, even though you could say, well, I've always done this. Yeah, and you're struggling. We've already had a conversation and talk about this is what I'm struggling with and I can't figure out. Same thing with people. They all swear they eat healthy and they're going to change and they're going to quit. They're going to eat vegetables, but they won't dip them in ranch dressing anymore. And that'll help melt all the pounds off. And it's not as simple as that.
Right.
So that's why I'm excited about getting out to this and just start throwing it out there and seeing what's really going on. What's the struggles, Jerry? To your point, you've had a lot of years in business. You've navigated the potholes. You've hit a lot of potholes, and you can start to anticipate and help people anticipate where they're coming from. Just like the nutrition, we can help people start. Here's a pit hole, or a pothole you're going to hit, and it will come up invariably. And there's no way to miss all of them. So don't kid yourself. Don't think I hit a pothole. What did I do wrong? You didn't. But if you're sitting there parked in your driveway, you're guaranteed you're not going to hit any potholes, but you're not going to get anywhere either.
That's right. Yep. And talk to somebody who's driven the same route and can help you avoid the potholes. How valuable is that? Right. So you do a $10,000 worth of damage to your car, but the advice costs you $1,000.
Mm-hmm.
Right. But at the
You
time,
know,
you're like $1,000. That's crazy. I ain't spending $1,000. Okay, I just saved you 10 G's. Right. Okay, go drive the car. Good luck on the potholes. I mean, that's what we're talking about. That's what a peer-to-peer group is, if it's done correctly, and people understand that it is not a social circle. That it try saying that quick. A social circle, and that it is there to help. And that sometimes that means you're going to get beat up. Just happens.
mm-hmm.
Yeah, there was something that when you were talking about that, Jerry, uh, for as a business owner, I know, and I've spoken to a few of them to know that there's a hunger for being around the right group of people. And for me, it's always been, who can I surround myself, or who can I go work for, or who can I be around that will elevate my level of thinking throughout my entire life. So the job when I worked at VaynerMedia was to be near Gary Vee, to see his team, to work with his team, to work with everyone who was behind the scenes building a content machine monster at its time. Then it was acquisition.com, going down there and going through the final interview in Vegas and meeting Alex and Layla Hermosi, talking to them. And then when I get back, first person I call is you, Jerry. And I remember having a conversation. They were like, yeah, over email, it was, yeah, we just seemed like it wasn't a good fit. It was that we just eradicated the role. And your question to me was, well, that's not good enough. Like, ask them why. Like, what did I say something? Did I look a certain way? And I could have taken that, if I don't have that kind of thought process or that kind of perspective, as, oh, I'm just not good enough. And it's the exact opposite. It's okay, how do I get better every single interaction? How do I get better every single day? And I think that's what the Kronos Group is at its core, is that peer-to-peer business owners working together. And it's that war room, that debrief that you have once a month that can fulfill that hunger that is out of the distractions of running your business day to day. When it comes to someone called in sick, or, oh, this BS or this stuff that I just don't want to put off, this is the time where for 5 hours that month, you can come in and just go to work and like be like soaking this up, taking that, not taking that route because someone said this, and you're like, oh, I didn't even think about that. And you're able to operate at a high level of signal, and you're out of your noise. And
Yeah.
there's this graph that I saw from some video on YouTube. I can't remember who actually showed it to me, but it was a noise signal graph, and it was just like one vertical line and a horizontal line, like it was like a target. And at the top was no signal, and at the bottom was noise. And there's a lot of business owners and businesses that will operate right in the middle, which is a lot of noise and a lot of signal, but there's not a clarity. And the higher you can get into those moments of signal is when you actually can grow your business, because you're operating at a machine rate where you're actually able to get stuff done and be able to build momentum and build value within your business and not deal with the noise. You're going to have to deal with it no matter what. But this group is a totally signal moment of that month for a business owner to just soak it up, take information, understand, give information, give feedback, take feedback, and then be able to expand upon that in the day-to-day business. And I am excited just to be a part of that, not even to be in the conversation, but to hear that, to be editing the clips about that kind of stuff, to be sharing that stuff in the community around the Kronos Group. Like, that's where my brain's already at. So this work right now, even though it feels like the suck, and it is the suck, I know when I have that moment, I'm able to capitalize on that moment. And Les Brown did that with his motivational speech. And I still listen to it to this day, not because I just need the motivation, just because of how good he is as a speaker, but also his story, and that he was at the radio station working the night shift, cleaning the toilets, mopping down stuff, helping with the sound. One guy one night called out sick, and they were like, hey, we got to go live on the radio. No one's in the radio station. Well, Les was in the production area. He hears it, picks up the phone and he's like, all right, who's going to go live tonight? And he goes, well, no one's here, so it's going to be me. And he's like, are you ready for it? And he said at that moment, he was ready for it because he put in all of the work that no one saw, that no one cared about, that he himself didn't even really want to do, but knew he had to do it. So then at that moment, he could capitalize and seize that moment. And I think that's what the Kronos Group really continues to build upon once you're in it. It's not, okay, what can I do? How can you help me save money? It's like, how do I make this thing better, this business better than the previous month? How can I do that? And it could be a setback, it could be a failure, it could be a win, whatever those things in, but taking that in and building that into your knowledge database in your brain and being able to say, okay, this next month, I'm going to do it this way. And if it works, awesome. If it doesn't, oh, well, you just learned.
Business owners, there is a dichotomy in a business owner. An entrepreneur is by nature sure of themselves. Okay, so we are 100% sure of themselves, of ourselves. On the flip side to it, we also are insecure because you are inundated with failure on a daily basis. So every day you have failure coming at you. And so to your point, Matt, when you come together in a group like this, you're meeting other people who are exactly the same. Now, in my case, I'm crazy aggressive and I want everybody to do well. I love business. I love the game of business. I love improving businesses. I love talking about business. I love pointing out mistakes. I love dealing with my own mistakes that I have made. I like getting into the weeds and figuring out the tough decisions that ultimately end up making more money and giving advice that helps people get more money and bringing people together in a group that's going to help them make more money. But remembering that we all feel insecure and also have these giant egos. So you always think you're about to lose, and inside your head you're thinking, "What can I do?" But outwardly, everyone's looking to you for approval. Everybody's looking for you for support. It is a one-way emotional roller coaster because everything gets to come to you. And just like my mother told me years ago, you're the rock that everybody crashes against. That's who you have to be as an entrepreneur. But when you find other people and you learn, oh wait, they have the same problems I have, that's when the value really comes out. And not only that, but then maybe they got a different personality than you do. I am crazy aggressive, as I said. And so my personality and my advice is going to be along those lines. Let's get it. I'm not emotional. I just jump in the middle of it. Let's get it fixed now after all of these years of doing it. That might be the kick that some other people need to hear to do that thing that they should do, but they'll still fight it because they have the streak in them that makes them an entrepreneur, which is, I made all these decisions. I've got myself to this point. I've done all of these things. That advice he's given me is contrary to what I think I should be doing. And so inherently, the personality that I am is going to push back on that, ultimately ending up costing you money. When I was 30 years old and got recruited into the group, I was the biggest a-hole on the planet, trying to tell me anything was impossible. But I had that epiphany at 28 that said, shut up and listen. So by 30, man, I was ready for it. My business was going nuts. Joining that group was the smartest thing I ever did, and I didn't think I needed to. I thought I had all of the answers. Again, I'm running a $14 million, well, at that point, $8 million a year company that I started from scratch. The average ticket price was $12.50. I'm not selling $35,000 vacations, right? Mm-hmm. $12.50 average ticket price, and I ended up doing $14 million at the top line. But so I thought I knew everything, and it was that realization, my son being born, right? My half-finished house, quitting my job, not taking a check for the better part of 4 years, refereeing basketball games at night to feed my children, having my children. That was a big thing for me. We've talked about that, away from work. All of that drove me to say, you better shut up, because yes, you're really good at this one thing, but there's all these other things that either you're not good at or you don't know anything about. You don't know what it is, right? So as men, so many times we want to just ignore that thing we don't know anything about, right? What's that thing sitting over there in the corner? I have no idea. I'm not going anywhere near it. It's going to bite me. I don't want to touch it, right? Well, the reality is then some operator comes in that's been there and done that before you. Somebody like me walks in and goes over, then you got one of those? Where that? you haven't used that yet? Like, I don't even know what that thing does. You go over there and you pick it up, and it's this thing to do that thing. All of a sudden, the guy's making more money every month, and he's like, God, I stared at that thing because I didn't know what it was. And inherently in my head, I was like, I don't want to be proven wrong because I'm a dude with an ego, and I started a company, and I don't take advice very well. I speak for myself. And all of a sudden your eyes open like this and you go, oh my God, my business doing $1 million a year. All of a sudden I can do $3 million a year. It seems so hard at $1 million, but I got this guy sitting there and this guy over here and this guy over there. And all of a sudden your eyes open to things that you can't imagine are possible. And to your point, Matt, going in once a month changed the way that I looked at the world across the board. Forget about just business. It changed the way I looked at the world. And I was doing a business bigger than everybody else in that group. And all I did was get advice every single month. And I could not wait to go so that I could come back and take that practical advice I got every single month and put it to work. It may not have been what my issue was that I talked about. Many times it was the issues that the other guys talked about, right? And I'd go, wait a minute, I have that problem, and I didn't even recognize I had that problem. And so I take that back. It wasn't what I was told directly, but I take that back, run that, put it into where I was like, here's what I learned today. I mean, if you ask my assistant, Brooke, she heard this 1,000 times. Here's what I learned this month. We got to go do this right now because Keith's going to come in, the chairman, in 2 weeks or in a week. And if I don't have that implemented, if I haven't fired that person, I haven't replaced this deal, I haven't put this in place, if I haven't used this piece of software, if I haven't, followed up on this, he's going to yell at me and hold me accountable because this is exactly what I need, as I said in the meeting just a few days before. So you're 100% right. And that is a practical example that I just gave to what you were saying, Matt, about getting together, finding people that are every bit as, some of them are going to be more talented than you. Some of them are going to be less talented than you. Again, some of their businesses aren't going to be as big as yours, and that doesn't matter. I keep saying that just to make the point that it doesn't matter, because I learned as much from a dude running $1 million company as I did learning from a dude that ran a $10 million company.
Well,
I was about to say,
and to what Matt said earlier about, just working and doing it on his own, couple of things. And one thing to what you said, Jerry, is that the old cliche, it's been around forever, is success is where preparation meets opportunity. And that sounds nice, like it's a 1 + 1 = 2. And no, it's more like 1,000,000 + 1 = 1,000,001, meaning there's 1,000,000 things you're going to have to do to get prepared for this. An opportunity is going to be a singular moment you have. That's what I see Dallas as. That's what I see Atlanta as. That's an opportunity, but it's all the preparation behind the scenes. So a lot of times the formula, the cliche sounds pretty linear, and it's not linear at all,
right,
as far as the amount of work you have to put into it. And then also, Jerry, to your point of the perspective, I can't help it continually, because Jerry and I both shoot pool in leagues. And I can't help but the perspective of, when you said you got one of those, and like somebody at my level, Jerry's way higher level than I am, but I get a ball in hand and he sees, myself or somebody else on the team. Oh, you got one of those? You get a chance to do something yourself. And I set the ball up, and for my shot, ball in hand means you can put it anywhere on the table. And, timeout, he doesn't, he just stands up, and I know it's a timeout. But he comes over and, ask, well, what are you doing? Well, this is what I've always done, because this will always put the ball in. And then he's literally many times just put the ball right just on the other side of what I was going to do. And then he explains it, and like, oh, because what it'll help me do is maybe get that shot in, maybe one other shot. He does a simple adjustment, puts it right on the other side. Now I can run 4 or 5 shots, maybe run the table out. Just that one little thing. But we get stuck. We get stuck in our patterns, our habits. To your point, Jerry, I can do this. I've built this. I've always done this. But you might have been doing 1 or 2 things is why you're struggling. Somebody with your experience, outside perspective, not emotionally tied into the business, can just objectively look at it and says, well, why don't you just do this way instead? Just this. And how much, I'm sure you've had moments in your life where they just told you to change one thing. Didn't seem like a lot. It was right in line with what you're already doing, but just do it like this instead. And it just changed the whole trajectory of what you were able to do. Or if nothing else, and especially in small business, you have just a plate full of problems every Monday. Mm-hmm. And you're appreciative if somebody can just take one of those problems off your plate. Just one.
Right.
Your life just starts to get better as you do that. Then you start to see the value of having that perspective, having that, that 10,000 foot view that they don't have, because they're in the trenches. They can't see what the overall game plan is. They're just moving from trench to trench like in warfare. But you had people that knew, well, this is our objective 50 miles from here, 20 miles from here. But it's really hard to see that when you can only see 20 feet in a trench. And so having somebody that can see the overall view to help you, okay, well, no, make this turn right here. You can go that way, but it's going to take you 2 years to get around to it, or we could do it this way, and in 2 months you could have what you've been working on. But I think that's a lot. It's an interesting take, Jerry,
Yeah.
of the entrepreneurial spirit, in that, you've got, that on, I can do it. I do it. I figure it out. And to get the help of somebody from the outside that's been through it, done it, to help just make that slide, just like back to my pool analogy. It's amazing how much that applies to this, just to have that perspective of somebody that's shot I've shot the shot maybe 50 times and you've shot it 10,000 times. And
Yeah.
you know how that ends.
And you think that's a great analogy, because the player will think they know what they're supposed to do. It
Based on
seems
what they've always
obvious
done.
to them, right? And they're almost defensive about, okay, I'll do it if that's what you say I should do. And again, I'm up here and you're down here, and so I'm giving you all the benefit of that experience. But many times they're like, all right, and I've seen that shot missed 1,000 times because the dedication to it, the belief in it,
I was
isn't
just about
there.
to say that. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it causes you to make a mistake, and that's just makes no sense. But the same players will be at the same level forever, while good players will continue to get better. And pool is a very very difficult game to play, and to play well. But there's no getting there if you think you know what you're doing. And business is very hard to do. I am not saying that I had the success I had in business because I knew what I'm doing. I'm saying I had the success that I had in business because I listened and watched and learned and asked questions of those that had more information than I did.
Yeah.
So
No,
that's a great hour-long commercial for the Kronos Group. I thought we were trying not to do that.
Yeah. Well, and I like, because we talked about the realness behind it all, not just about business, but
Sure.
the actual like feeling behind it, the understanding, and then having the willingness to just endure the suck, and how you can actually grow and gain so much value in the suck. And if everything's going great, it's honestly, yeah, like when everything is going good in my life, I'm nervous. I get anxiety. That's what it is. Because it's like, okay, not that I'm looking for something bad to go wrong, but I know right now I'm starting to get comfortable. And to your point earlier, Steve, that's where I'm like, something's not right. It's either something in my brain is saying, yeah, everything's all right, and I just need to switch back off and say, nope, you got to keep going. Or it's in your surroundings. So maybe at your business right now, everything's going good, and that's great. But where is that improvement? Where is that growth? Where is, like, what can you do to make it better? And then that's when you start getting these little pricks and these little pain points, and they could be bullets or they could be just nail pricks. And it's like, okay, but then after a while, you're like, God, it's really sore. And it's because you've been just thinking or having this persona of like, oh, it's all good. It's not that big of a deal. And I know, like you've told us, Jerry, whereas in the past, you overlook things because it's not that big of a pain, but that pain will grow. And so if it's like a employee, if it's a obstacle in the business, and you just keep putting it off because you're like, I don't want to deal with that right now, it's not that big of a deal, it compounds, and it compounds quickly.
I'll flip that on its head too and give you a real quick example as we get out of here. I was talking to Steve over the weekend, and we got this new account that's $8,000 a month. Big, it's a good account. It's $8,000 a month. But as I'm rebuilding a transportation company, in the old days of that company, that wasn't a big account. It's a nice account, right? It's a sweet little account. It just goes right in. It's $8,000 a month. Now, after 4 years of that company getting beat to hell, and we're starting to rebuild it, that's a good account. But my head is, we've done all these millions and hundreds of millions of dollars of revenue, and and I stopped myself. So Steve is my witness. I did do this, and this is maturity and age, where I was just kind of, that's $8,000. It's a nice account. I was like, no, that's a great account. That's a fantastic account for this company. It's doing 7 figures, right? It's growing again. So it's not a tiny little company, but it's nowhere near as big as it was. And we love every account, and $8,000 is a huge account. And so it's that mindset where before I would have almost looked past that $8,000, like it was, and if I lost it, I lost it, right? Which is stupid. That's not the way to think. And this is the value of my experience and others like me, because you look at that and you're like, yeah, I lost it. But what would I do for the $8,000 now, right? What would I do to have that account now? And so that mindset is something that a group like this keeps you honest, because they're going to call you out on your BS for thinking that way, which is super easy to think that way. So that's a good place to go out, boys.
There you go. Another episode of the Kronos Group.
Excellent. Steve-O, you got it down. You got the hat and everything. You're going to just go ahead and take us out, or do you need Matt to tell you what to say?
No, I got it.
You got it written down.
All right.
He's
And one
it.
thing I just want to reiterate, let people know we're going to be, we're going, I am, but I'm going to screw it up. But also just remind people we're going to be in Dallas.
Yes, that's right.
Look for us in Dallas. We're excited to meet anybody and everybody that we can there. We will be the people probably working the crowd hard than anybody, because our booth is the whole expo.
That's right. Mm-hmm. And we'll be the ones in the hats and the shirts, Kronos Group, that say you can't afford not to, because you can't afford not to.
All right. Well, remember, opportunities are everywhere. You got to go get them.
Did you read that?
Glanced.
You can't afford not to. See you, boys.